Welcome everyone. It's lovely to see so many faces from people around the world. Some of you I've had the pleasure to meet, and some of you I haven't. And I look forward to having we've made time later in the presentation and this webinar to have some questions and answers, but also it'll be an opportunity for people to share the things that they're doing. If you've just joined us, please pop your name and where you're from in the chat. So we'll get started. So my name, for those of you who haven't met me before, is Rebecca Prince-Ruiz, and I'm the founder of Plastic Free July. And I'm speaking to you today, or tonight, as is my case, from Perth in Western Australia. And I'd just like to start by paying my respects to the traditional Aboriginal owners of the land on which I'm speaking to you from, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. So really excited to have everyone be part of this conversation. So for Plastic Free July this year, our theme is small steps make a big impact, and small steps make a big difference. And the reason that we chose that theme, and I know that some of you have been doing Plastic Free July for many years, and for others it's your first time. And the reason that we chose this theme for this year is that obviously the plastic pollution problem is growing, the plastic waste issue is growing, and it's never been a more important time to act. And although last year we had 140 million people around the world taking part, and there's been so much action and awareness over the last decade. We've seen a number of jurisdictions introducing single-use plastics bans, and there's been a lot of progress. There's obviously still a long way to go. And the theme that we have chosen is one to really invite and encourage people that it's not about being perfect. It's about choosing one or two items to tackle, and that everyone's small steps add up to make a difference. And I'm going to share with you a presentation which really outlines kind of some of the tools and resources that we've been creating in response to the research that we've done, and also a new creative visual approach that we hope you can join us with to amplify this this message and this effort, and get more people involved in being part of the solution. Izzy, can you just let me know if you can't see my screen?
Yes, we see it.
Oh, great. Thanks very much, Christina. So I'm just going to expand that. So the way that we've seen change happen over the last 12 years since we've been doing Plastic Free July, it has grown from just a handful of people. When we started, there were just 40 people, and we've seen change happen as we empower individuals through sharing solutions and sharing stories of change, that actually creates a ripple effect, and people then take it into their schools, into their workplaces, into their communities. And as we share positive stories of solution and impact, that grows. And we've really seen such an incredible change in culture that's driven by this groundswell of community action. And so whilst the Plastic Free July campaign very much focuses on individual behaviour change, we know that we can't do it unless we have business change, and also governments stepping up to legislate as well. And what we what we have, what we can measure through Plastic Free July, because we have a number of research tools. So we measure people's, and we'll share this tool with you after the webinar. So we actually measure people's attitudes, their behaviours, and the amount of waste that they're putting into their different different trash cans or garbage bins. And how often they're collected. And then we measure that again, not just at the end of July, because we're trying to measure longer term behaviour change, but we measure that in September. And so we really encourage people to do that quiz and to share it. So the frame that we have is not about, although we're very motivated by the plastic pollution problem and the waste issue, we know that there's, through our research, that there's very high levels of awareness and concern. No one sees images of plastic pollution and thinks, I'm okay with that. And but what our approach is to flip that concern into sharing solutions. So when you're seeing that, we know that there's this plastic pollution exists, but is that what people are thinking about when they're doing their shopping, or when they're buying products, or when they're accepting products? So what we focus on is the solutions and ideas, and they're very different for different people, depending where you live, depending what your circumstances are, and depending what the choices are available in your area. In the last decade in my suburb, we've had 3 bulk food stores open because there's just so much of a community demand for unpackaged produce and even and products, and even our local supermarket will supply them. But I know for many people that is not the case. And so our the way that the campaign works is really to share solutions that are crowdsourced and from people around the world. And so people can see people like them taking part and get ideas of what they can do. So as I said, we do a lot of research with our participants through the tool called the Pesky Plastics Quiz, which is also a behaviour change tool as well. And it was designed by a behavioural scientist that we work with. And that tool asks people questions about the plastics that they encounter in their daily lives and their choices and behaviours. And it's designed to help people think about all of the different plastics in their lives and feel good about the choices and the changes they might have made, and get ideas about what they could tackle next. And we know that the majority of people make long-term change. So this is our results from last year, and 88% of participants made one or more changes that became a habit or a way of life. And participants last year also avoided 300 million kilos of plastic in their household waste and recycling, and in addition to that, 2.6 million tonnes of waste. And so what we know from, as people go on a journey and start to reduce their plastics, is they also reduce their food waste. And we've all probably been in that scenario when you might have gone to a store and you needed 1 avocado and for a recipe, and you see 4 on a plastic tray wrapped in plastic wrap, and it's such a bargain. But if you actually only needed 1, then there's potentially that food waste issue as well. So by starting on the plastics issue, we find that a lot of participants manage to reduce other waste in their homes as well. the survey tools that we do of participants, and we've also done a number of global research studies when we've asked policy questions, particularly in the lead up to the United Nations Environment Assembly last year, when we were doing surveys on global public opinion to the Global Plastics Treaty. So we are able to measure and report to government on public attitudes. We also measure things like people's sense of well-being and connectedness to their community, and participants report higher levels of their sense of well-being, as well as community connections, which goes to the theory of giving people control over something in their lives and helping people to take action on issues that they care about. So one of the main things that we want to share with you today is this new video campaign, which I'll share in a moment. We're really encouraging people to also, for yourselves and people in your networks, in your organizations, to actually take the challenge. And that image here is the top is the homepage of the Plastic Free July website. It's plasticfreejuly.org, and that top right button there, the Take the Challenge, is that behaviour change prompt to get people to look at to look at the plastics in their lives. And we just try and make it really easy. So we say, try it for a day, try it for a week, try it for the month. And we share ideas and tools to help make it easier. We also have on the website a map for events. So if you're hosting an event or doing something in your community that the public can take part in, whether that's a physical in-person event or an online event, there's a map on the website which all you need to do is just have a hyperlink where people can find out more about the event. And that we get a lot of questions from people asking what can they do or wanting to connect to activities in their local area. And finally, we also ask people to share their stories. So we have a whole section on the website called What Others Do, where we share stories of what a school has done, what people in a corporate office have done to reduce their plastic. And those stories really inspire and empower others. And it takes a headline into what it took to achieve that. So I'll just give you an example of one of the stories that we shared last week from some nurses at a hospital. And last year for Plastic Free July, they decided they were going to tackle the plastic absorbent bed pads. I'm not sure what you call them in different countries. We call them blueies. And they use hundreds of thousands of these items every year. And so for Plastic Free July, they started a behaviour change campaign. They got hospital staff to, instead of putting a box of these absorbent pads on the shelf of every patient's room, they would just go into the corridor and take them from a trolley, because what was happening once these boxes of pads were put into a room, even if they were unopened and hadn't been used, they were unable to then use those for another patient once that patient had left because of infection control. And so by making that one simple step, they also in their babies clinic encourage mothers to just put down the blanket, their baby's blanket, on the scales before they weighed their babies. So we shared this story of this group that managed to avoid, I think, 75,000 of these items in just the first 9 months. And when we shared that story of what they did, how they went about it, how they set up a green team with people from all different parts of the hospital, that And we shared that story. We had people from hospitals all over the world contacting us saying, can we get in touch with this hospital? We want to learn more, and we want to make a difference as well. And this is really what the Plastic Free July Challenge is about. It's making a difference and doing it together. And I think the more we connect and collaborate, the more of an impact that we're going to make. I've also just shared some key dates here, and I'm sure they're familiar for many of you, particularly people working in government agencies and not-for-profits, but we have a lot of community members joining, and who might not be so familiar with some of these dates. So the campaign video that we're going to invite you today to be part of the creation of, that's happening this month. At the end of the month in Paris, governments will be meeting for the second round of negotiations for the Global Plastics Treaty. So it's just such a critical time to raise the profile and start to activate our communities and our networks, engage people to take action on this issue. On World Environment Day on the 5th of June, the theme is solutions to beat plastic pollution. And our efforts through this campaign will culminate on the 1st of July with a global day of action. So that gives you a bit of an overview of the importance of the coming six weeks. So the campaign video that we're co-creating this year, and we are inviting you today to be part of, and we'd love you to share further. And this is all on our website, and we'll send you the link, or maybe Izzy, if you don't mind popping it in the chat. Is bringing this small steps, big difference theme to life. And what the ask is that if you've got a camera, if you've got a smartphone, if you've got a camera, inviting people to share what their small steps are, whether that's at an individual level or whether that's your group, and take some images of the small steps that you're going to be taking or you are already taking, and share those. And then we bring all of those steps together to share people around the world that are making a big difference. So the idea is that we take 3 videos. So the first video that we're asking people to take is a wide angle shot of you and where you are in the world. And the second video is the close-up of your plastic-free item, whether that's a reusable bottle or a bag or whatever item that you or the person or the group that you're taking a photo of is going to use to either avoiding single-use plastics or the alternative item. So we're asking people to say who you are, where you are, and why you're making this step. And we do have a very diverse global audience. So if we encourage people to say it in your own language and to really do whatever feels comfortable and natural for you, as natural as it is to be in a video. And then the final shot is actually taking a physical step and showing your plastic-free item. Again, you could be doing this by yourself or in a group. And we encourage people to have fun with this. Could be a step, a leap, a kick, whatever feels natural for you. So we just put together a few examples, I guess, to bring this to life. So this is somebody in Switzerland. So the first video is the location. The second is about you. So he would say, I am Kieran, I'm from Valais in Switzerland. He's holding up his item and he's taking a step for his environment. And I think this is a really important one because different people have different drivers. Some people are concerned about the plastic pollution issue. Others are concerned about wildlife. There's a growing number of people concerned about the emerging evidence of the human health impacts of plastic and the social justice issues around the communities that are affected by the extraction and production of plastics right through the life cycle to disposal. And then the final shot is taking a video of the actual step, whether you're filming somebody in side on or whether you're filming yourself and taking your own step. We also encourage people to do it in a group and show their actions. A uniform is great. We have people taking part from schools, from hospitals, from cafes, from sailing clubs, from every community gardens, from local government. And so having this images from groups doing it, I think is really going to help build that picture of how change starts at that individual level and grows. So again, the first video is just the location. In this case, it's a school. So about you, we are Crosstown Elementary. We're from Toronto and we're taking a step for our school. And that could be one person saying it. It could be a group saying it. And then you have the footage of the step. And so this is, it could be everybody holding an item or just one person holding the item. So as I mentioned, this is all on our website. And there's also a short guide of how to do it. So whether that's something that is suits you or whether that's something that you're happy to share in your network, we're asking people to upload them. If you don't have, it's a Google form. If you don't have a Google account, there's details there of how to contact us and we can offer other ways to upload it, and then upload your 3 videos. There's the that's the actual link there. And then the next step is we'll go through a process of collecting those videos and start to weave this story of millions of people coming together to make a change. And this will be a core feature of the campaign. We don't have a confirmed date yet, but it'll be released likely in the last week of July. But by following us on social media, and we'll also follow up with everyone on this webinar, but also anyone that submits footage. Izzy, did you want to add anything more about the design process or the next step? So this is Isabel, who's the creative genius behind this.
We're going to work with the videographers on this, but the idea was really to show everybody's action. So everybody out in the world is doing something, and we want to we want the video to say that together we make a big difference. So every little step makes a big difference. So we're showing people from around the world where they are, what they're doing, and cutting that all together. We think this could become pretty powerful. And yeah, we are aiming end of June, I think, to release it, Rebecca.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Izzy. So thank you, everybody, for coming along today and taking part. We'll send you those links, and I'm just going to stop sharing and open it up to questions. For those of you who have joined when we who've joined during the webinar, we're just encouraging everybody to write their name, where they're from, and organisations. And if you have a question, please either pop it in the chat or just put your hand up. So in response to the question, it's actually end of June. So unfortunately, no, it won't be in time for INC 2, but we'll be there. We'll be there in time for Plastic Free July. And then the idea is for the 1st of July, that video then becomes the invitation for more people to get involved and take part. So I've got a question, Catherine. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, hi. Thank you. I'm tuning in from Connecticut in the United States on the East Coast. So I've been following you for a long time. Thank you. I'm the recycling coordinator for my town, so I can envision sharing this with the environmental clubs in our high schools and things like that. I don't quite understand the 3 video concepts. It's 3 separate videos. Is there a time? Will you be pasting those 3 together, or you'll use them separately?
So we're thinking, should I answer that, Rebecca?
I'd love you to answer that, Izzy.
Right. So we're thinking just 3 little videos, like 15 seconds each, pretty short, and we will cut them together. So the idea is that we maybe end up with something. I'm Rara from India. I'm such and such from Canada. I'm such and such from Hong Kong, Africa, like all around the world. And then what we're doing. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this for this reason. And then at the end, everybody's taking a step, and we're thinking of having this with powerful music, like that they all step in a rhythm. So yeah, that's kind of our creative vision. We'll see how it all comes together. But that's
got it. Okay. That helps me understand why it's 3 separate videos, and to try to keep it to 15 seconds makes sense. Good to know. It's probably in the directions, but thank you.
Yeah. And then by having that ready for the end of July, end of June, that's what we can then all share and get people around the world to see there's something in this for everybody and we can all take part. So I look forward to seeing what's happening in Connecticut. Did anyone else have any questions or have anything? I know there's people from a number of not-for-profits around the world that are working on the plastics issue. Did anyone have anything else that they wanted to share or about their work or what their plans were? Christina.
Hi.
Microphone's yours.
I would be happy to share that our group, we have about 90 grassroots groups that we are inviting to participate in a plastic-free July action. So we'll be letting them know about everything that you just told us about. And our theme is plastic is hazardous, because we felt like that covered all the negative impacts as well as the policy solutions that our groups are working on. So they'll be doing multiple steps leading up to an event on July 20th. They'll bring clean plastic packaging waste to a legislative office that is the decision maker for the particular policy that they're working on. And then they'll invite media and deliver a petition or sign-on letter in support of that policy. And then we'll also take the packaging waste home with them after the event. So that's what we'll be doing with our groups across the country.
Thanks very much for sharing that. So that's so Christina's from Beyond Plastics, and we can, if there's a link that you would like us to share with the follow-up email, Christina, please feel free to send that through. I just wanted to say on that note, so one of the things that we're going to be doing is we'll be launching Plastic Free July in Australia at our Parliament House in Canberra, and we're going to be doing a challenge to our elected officials to avoid the single-use coffee cup during July. And so we're not only challenging them, but we're going to ask them to be taking a small step. So then we'll use that that same creative concept to film our elected officials actually being part of this. So this is definitely not something that's just for the community. We're inviting a number of businesses to be part of that as well. Hey, Jackie, would you like to share what who you are and what your plans are?
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, we are planning to share this to Plastic Pollution Coalition farm-wide and get our coalition members to get on board with this. We have businesses, we have actors, musicians, so we'll see how creative we can get. And we're also going to be lobbying in DC during the month of June. So maybe we can challenge some of our politicians, and we'll be there with Beyond Plastics and everything. So I love that idea. I just wanted to point out to everyone, especially those working in the plastic sphere, the great thing about Plastics Free July, and Christina is a great example of that, is this doesn't matter what you're working on as far as, you know, if it's policy, if it's, you know, bring your own bag, if it's, you know, for me, when I started the Last Plastic Straw, it was a really great tool for people to use and be able, so wherever you are, whatever item or policy or business thing you're working on, it's all relevant, and you can use Plastic Free July as that that springboard or that awareness tool. That this campaign is very accessible, and I found it was very effective. It was a great way to get groups to work together. It was an umbrella type of action that you can all move the needle forward and the message forward about, you know, single-use plastics in general. A lot of us are concentrating on reuse and refill. One of the things that we're finding, and I've had these discussions with Rebecca too, it's very problemsome that they're replacing one single-use item with another. A lot of compostable things. So this whole idea about refill and stuff is really great. And the last thing I'm going to say, and was really relevant, and it's so great that they're working with behavior change specialists. I know people get very frustrated in our movement because they're like, God, you know, we're still talking about straws, we're still talking about whatever, but it's, you got to meet people where they are, and little habits do lead to big habits. And there is studies done on this, and it was so great to hear that the hospital story. I can't wait to share that, because it's, you know, people don't set out to pollute the planet. We're just not aware, we're overwhelmed by it. And then you realize that there are alternatives and there's things you can do. And this is just a start. You know, people get frustrated with beach cleanups as well. Like, God, you know, we're not going to beach clean up our way out of this, but this is the engagement tool. This is where people learn. This is where people get creative in their own communities and their own groups to do this. So I highly recommend to embrace this and incorporate it into whatever you're working on. It's just a great opportunity for people, and people like pilots. So it's a great thing to get people to start, businesses to start implementing some of these things in a really harmless manner. So they get really afraid that we don't want to, you know, ask our customers to do this, whatever. But it's a thing, like a volunteer thing. If you guys want to participate in Plastic Free July, this is what we're doing. So I can't recommend this highly enough. It's just a great initiative and tool to use. And I celebrate all plastic-free holidays, and this is a great month-long one, and make every day your plastic-free holiday. I'll stop there.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. You're such a great champion. And I think you raised a couple of really important points, and there's and that is, you know, has become this moment on the global calendar. And I you know, if you're working at all in this space, I would really encourage you to leverage that. There's a huge amount of media interest in Plastic Free July. And that's also one of the reasons that we encourage you to share your stories, post your events, and connect and stay in touch, because then when we're doing an interview with CNN or whoever it is, we know, oh, I can call up Jackie or I can call up Catherine, and because we're wanting to share local stories in those countries. So it's a really good opportunity to amplify everyone's good work. And we're also looking for like we're not going to organize a take back advocacy like Beyond Plastics, but some of our participants definitely will, so we can share that as something that they can do, or some of Plastic Pollution Coalition's great resources. I think this is really about together that we're stronger and going to be more impactful than the sum of the parts. And I think something else I wanted to say, Jackie, just building on what you were saying, was that it's really interesting when you see the change and what people do over the years. So one of our stories that we shared last July was a small cafe, a very small cafe. They were takeaway only, but a very popular cafe at beautiful Bondi Beach in Sydney. And she's takeaway only. And last year she went single-use free. And she's just done that through behaviour change, through sharing her passion with her customers. And she has, we call it a mug library. She just has a crate of op shop mugs she collected from the op shop. So if people don't bring their own, they can borrow one. One day she has, on Fridays, I think she has the Bondi icebergs, about 100 arty swimmers that swim every Friday, and they're lining up down the beach to get their coffee. And the next day she gets to work and there's a line of cups that, the ones that took a bit longer to drink their coffees have just left them out the front. But she managed to do that last year because the previous year she'd just done it for a week. And the year before that, she just did it herself. So we hear so many stories like that of how change doesn't happen overnight, but every year, and we see that a lot with corporates and businesses. Actually, it might start with a few passionate staff members, and then it will become an employee engagement program, and then they'll do a whole process of an audit of their supply chains and change their procurement and really scale up the change. It's definitely exponential. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I'd just like to say thank you very much, everyone, for your time. We're really looking forward to collaborating with you, to sharing the videos. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. It will be with a lot of little actions. Thank you, Lauren. And we're really looking forward to making a difference together. So thank you very much.